Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is officially my first video. I have been working in Unreal Engine for the past maybe 5 to 7 years. I have done a couple of game jams. I have participated in a couple of things. And the reason that why I decided to do this was because I have seen there's an overwhelming amount of tutorials out there and videos, but it's mostly showing you how to get something done, and usually what the videos are lacking, it's showing what things you have to go through, how many things you're going to fail to actually get to what you're looking for. So I think that part of the process is very, very important for people to understand how certain things work and why certain things are the way they are. And those tutorials are definitely great. They're really good. Do not get me wrong here, but definitely you also need to have that exposure to failing and understanding why certain systems behave in the way they do. So that is the reason why I have decided to start this channel. And also, certain systems, when you go through videos, it teaches you how to do something, but then when you try to incorporate this to your project, it's also a little bit complex. So I'm going to take the time to actually go further into details on how certain things work and how you can actually maximize developing and coding. I'm just going to concentrate my efforts in blueprints, which are definitely a great tool, and I'm pretty sure there's many things you can learn from this. If you find something is wrong or incorrect, just let me know in the comments and we can definitely go over them. So without any further ado, here we have a new level, and in this particular video, what I'm going to do is actually going to go through how to create how to design a system that it's aligned with an object-oriented programming approach. I have seen that many people did like run away from this for whatever reason, and that is the way you should be making your game in Unreal Engine. So to give you a more broad understanding, let's say that you're going to be designing 100 doors for your game. If you're going to be designing each door one by one, that is going to be very time consuming. This is how actually software and video games were made many years ago, 20 years ago. But now with the object-oriented programming approach, you can design a parent class, and then from that parent class you can just create children. These children are just going to inherit values, or characteristics from the parent, without the necessity of having to code them one by one. So I'm just going to create here a new folder. I always like creating like a main folder. You can put whatever color you want on this. This is not really sorry, necessary or relevant. It's not gonna make or break your game. So we're gonna design a new system here. Let's just call this items. This is gonna be very simple. And inside items, I'm gonna put blueprints, and inside blueprints, it's where the magic is going to happen. I'm going to create a blueprint class. This is going to be an actor, and my actor is going to be BP, and I'm going to call this parent item. So, we're going to open that up, and something that we're going to do with our parent is we're going to go into the class settings, advanced, and we are going to set this to be abstract. With this, we're basically telling the system that we don't have any intentions of spawning anything directly from this, so that way we avoid things being changed or added or whatever. So let me show you how this works, because I want you to have like an idea. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go back to this at a later time. But right now, let's just go ahead and click on that. I want to trigger, well, actually it's a collision box, so we can do sphere. I'm just going to call this item trigger box. You don't have to name every single thing. I just like naming stuff for consistency, so that's going to be up to you. If you want to maintain some kind of a naming convention that makes sense and it's clear, especially with you're working with people, then that's fine. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but it's definitely recommended that you go with this approach. So let's just say that our sphere is going to be maybe something like 100. Why am I unable to sphere radius? let me take a look at the class settings. Okay, never mind. It seems like we have some kind of a weird glitch going on right now. Yeah, that's interesting. It's not letting me, um, for whatever reason. Let me, uh, let's just click on advanced. Let me compile and save. Again, Unreal Engine 5 has been a little bit buggy, I would say. Let me try again. Okay, finally. Sorry about that. So, I'm gonna click on the trigger box because I want the trigger to be the root parent. So if anything it's moving, if we're moving the trigger, then everything will move with the trigger. And that's what we're looking for here. So I'm gonna add a static mesh. Um, we're just gonna call this item mesh. Again, you don't have to do this. If you wanna have something simple, you can leave this as it is. It's up to you. For our development purposes, I'm gonna add a text render. So I'm just gonna call this item name. This I want text center left. Let's just put this here. And let's see, what else do we need? We have collision box, we have the name, and we have the item mesh. So we could add like a widget. I don't want to overcomplicate this right now, so that's just fine. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Currently, we don't have our class set to abstract. So if I were to say hidden in game, let's just disable this for a moment, and then I go back to the level right now. I put this in the level and I play the game. As you can see, look, we can spawn it, we can drag it around, but if we go ahead and remove this, and then we go back into our blueprint, and I say that hidden in game is actually going to be true. Oh, that doesn't matter. We're going to go back into the class settings, and now we're going to set this option here to abstract. And then I click compile, and now if we go back here, what's going to happen is whenever I try to drag and drop this into the world, the system is not going to let me. So basically our parent class is going to be the blueprint, if you will. It's the skeleton that we're going to be using to assign values and certain information to the children. So we want the parent to hold certain information, do certain things, because if we have functions that we want to pass around, we can also have that on the parent. But ultimately, we don't want to make any changes, unnecessary changes to the parent. Now, anything that has to happen at the children level, we will be able to code whatever we need in the children. If we need to override a function or overload a function, we can do so as well. So the magic behind this is that whatever happens in the parent is going to be replicated to each children. Now you could be saying, or you could be thinking, what about if I just duplicate the blueprint, and then I can just make new things without having to redesign the whole thing? That's something that you can go for. The problem is that creating a duplicate whenever something happens to the parent blueprint, that those changes are not going to be replicated to duplicates. That's the reason why you always have to stick with a parent children approach. So um, we have let's see, and sorry that the video might be a little bit long because there's quite a couple of things that I need to discuss in order to be able to get this video from point A to point B. So right now, let's see. Mesh has not been assigned, so we can just go ahead and assign this because we don't really have the mesh to show like apples or actual items. So we can just say, you know what, we're just gonna be sending this to a cube. This cube, let's just say something like this, more or less. We're going to be testing this in a moment. So right now we have our class is currently set to abstract, meaning we're not going to be able to spawn anything from it. But now I want to be able to create a children, right? So to create a children, I have to right click on this blueprint right here. And in the actions, you see that it's saying, okay, create child blueprint class. So I'm going to create a blueprint. And if you want to say children, that's fine. I don't really like this approach too much. I usually just put everything together and that's it. So I'm just going to call this blueprint. Let's see. Let's suppose that this is going to be an apple, I guess. Now, if you ever get lost in terms of where your blueprints and stuff is, if you take a look at this, it's going to show the parent class right there. So you will always know what this belongs to. So right now, as you can see, on the parent, I have set up the mesh to be a cube. So now the children, it's also a cube. So now I will be able to spawn this in the world or put this in the world. So I want to put this like so, and of course we have to make changes because, well, we know it's not properly set up. So what we can do here is we can say like left, and let's see, we can just move this a little bit up. And I think I'm gonna have to move this again. Let's see, 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. Yep. So let's just move this somewhere around here. Save. And now if we go back into the level, okay, we have something that more or less is kind of an item, I guess. Still a little bit too big. I don't think it's something that we have to dwell on, for the purpose of the video. So, so at this point, as you can see, now we have children here that is sitting in the world, but we need something to happen to it. So we have two options. Let's say that you have functionality that you want only to happen in this blueprint. So you would go into the children and you would put that right here. But for what I want to accomplish right now, we can just do so on the parent. So I'm just going to get rid of this, and I'm gonna say that we want to an event overlap on the trigger. And let's see. We need to verify what kind of actor it's overlapping this, because let's say that this is in the world and we have something that is going to fire off when we overlap the box, but maybe an enemy or something else is actually overlapping the box. We don't really want that to be what drives this event, right? We only want the player. So we have a couple of ways of actually doing this. First option would be, which is the most common one, it's just getting this third person character. We do a casting, and now basically with this operation we're telling the system, we're telling the game, we're telling Unreal Engine, okay, only verify if what we're overlapping is the third person character. This is not an optimal way of doing so. For the purpose of actually showing you the process correctly and how to implement the best practices, we are going to stick with this one, and later on we're going to be changing it to something better, but for now we're just going to be using a casting. Okay, so we overlap if what's overlapping is the third person character, then we're just gonna print string, and we have to do the same thing for in overlap. We need something to happen, or well, that depends on our design, but assuming we're allowing some kind of an input event or something like this, so we would definitely want this here as well. Again, we're using this to check if what's overlapping is the actual player. So that means that if a monster or enemy or NPC or something else is overlapping this box, System is not going to care, it's not going to fire off, it's not going to do anything, and that's exactly what we want. So if I were to play the game now, and hello, yep, this is what we're looking for. All right, perfect. That's exactly what we want. So right now we're not seeing anything out of the ordinary, right? We want the system to be better. We want this parent-children relationship to actually have some kind of a real use. So we're gonna go back into the content. We're gonna say structures. This is the way that I usually keep my stuff organized. You definitely have to find what works for you. This is what I think works for me. So inside the structures folder, I'm going to right click on the content browser. We're going to go into blueprint. And from here, I want structure. I'm going to call this S. And I'm going to call this item data. I'm going to save this. And I'm just going to add something very simple right here. And I'm going to call this item name. And item name is just going to be a string, maybe. Yeah, I'm just going to do a text. So, sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah, where we can add, many things in here. For the moment, I'm just gonna add an item name. If you want to keep adding things, you can do like max stack size, which means how many of this can we carry on the same slot. You could do like maybe texture 2D. No, actually, it's item image, and that would be a texture 2D. So this is something that you would definitely want to do for displaying this item on like on a HUD or user interface or something like that. So right now, I think this is fine for our testing purposes because I just want the item name for what I'm trying to accomplish here. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go back into the content browser, items again, right click, and I'm going to say data tables. When I open this up, when I right click, we're going to go into miscellaneous. We're going to create a data table, and it's going to be of the structure type that we just created, which is item data. This is going to be data table item data, and we're going to open that up, and usually I like to set up things in the following fashion. Row name. I usually try to use the row name that I'm usually going to be using is the same as what we're identifying. So I usually go like item 1, item 1, item 2, and then on item 1 here we can say like, okay, this is an apple. Max stack size for our apples is going to be like maybe 10. We don't have an image right now, so we're not really going to worry about that right now. Maybe a pair or pear, I don't know how that's pronounced, sorry, but English is not my native language. And let's see, maybe let's say banana. And banana, we can only carry maybe 2 bananas. Okay, so if you want to go wild, like you can say you can keep adding variables. Basically, you can have a huge structure here of how many things you want your item to do or provide or what stats. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to leave it this way. Okay, right now we have that, which is great. Now we have our data table and now we have our structure. Now we need a way of passing this information over to our to our items. So in the blueprint, in the parent item, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new variable, and I'm just going to call this item data, and this is going to be item data type. And we also need a new variable, which I'm going to be calling item table row handle. And we're going to click on this, and we're going to say row handle, and that's not what we want. Row, there we go. And we're going to click on this, and we're going to assign this to item data. The row name, it's going to be none. And what we're going to do now is we're going to search for event begin play. So when the when the game starts, well, when event begin plays for this actor, for each children, basically what it's going to do is we're going to get the row handle, we're going to break that up, and we're going to say row because we want to get the data table that is assigned to this particular row name. And if we find the row, then we have to assign the data. Now, since we're using a parent-child relationship, each instance, even if we were not using this type of approach, each instance of this class in the world, right now it is abstract, but imagine that it was not. Each instance in the world is going to be a completely separate instance. So meaning that this information, it's always going to be its own, right? So in other words, Apple is going to have its own item data, peer or pear is going to have its own item data, banana is going to have its own item data, and what's going to be the driving factor is the kind of row name that we're assigning to the children. So how is this going to work? It's actually quite simple. Now that we have created this variable at the parent level, if we go into the children blueprint and I click here on self, and I go down here, now I can see the item table row handle, and from here I can just say, okay, so this is an apple. I'm going to set this to item 1, and I know this item 1 is the apple. Now, if you don't want to go with this approach, and you want to say like, okay, row name is going to be apple and blah blah blah, that's going to be up to you. That is a personal design choice. So now on the parent level, we have this information, right? And now we can say that we want to break. Man, Unreal Engine is weird. There we go. Now I'm going to break the structure because now I have access to the information. And let's just go ahead and set the text render, right? We can say, okay, I want to set this to set text. Now, if I play the game, this has been coded on the parent, but this is always going to replicate to the children. So now, if we play the game, Apple should say Apple, and it does. The text render is not, facing the player. That's something that we can correct if we just want to troubleshoot this or have some kind of a different setup, but that's fine for now. We don't really have to worry about it too much. Something that I like to do, if you've studied computer science or something like that, something that usually you're going to learn when you're programming is like to set up your getters and setters, right? Maybe you're familiar with this. So that's something that I like to do. And so basically, to do this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to click this. I'm going to connect this here. Oh, sorry, it's this one. Okay, there we go. We're gonna choose both. I'm gonna collapse this to a function, and I'm gonna call this get item name. And this is gonna be a pure function. I don't need this going through the execution pin, because I just need the information that is already in the structure. So we're gonna say return node. Put this here. This is going to create the variable name automatically for you. Click on the structure. We're going to hide unconnected pins. We don't want random connections taking place for whatever reason. And now if I go into the event graph, I can just go ahead and say this like so, and it's more organized. And now if I play, it should still show Apple, which is what we want. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing for the other ones. It's again a habit that I have. It's something that you should do. Set up your getters, your setters. It's gonna make your life easier. So I'm just gonna click on this. I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm gonna say get. Um, what other options? I forgot what we have right now. Okay, get max stack size. Now, you're setting this up. It doesn't mean that you're going to be using it. You just have it right now. If you don't need it, you can just go ahead and remove it, delete it. It's fine. You can do whatever you want. So we do this, and we get rid of this, and we save. And now I have another event, which is this one. Um, oops, which is to get max stack size. And that's what we need. And I'm just going to go ahead and create one more, which is get item image. Now, if you have a bunch of variables, I recommend doing this for all of them. Again, you don't have to if you don't want. I just find that it's more convenient to have all these functions in place as you start working on your blueprints, because then they're gonna make your life easier. And get item image, and it's gonna give us the image, and that's great. That's what we want. So usually what I do is I click on them, I go to the category, and I just say that these are like setters, and I just move. Wait, my bad. This is incorrect. It's getters. There we go. I just move this over here. There we go. Perfect. So that's basically what we want, and we can also put this in a category. I always recommend doing so. So I'm just gonna say that this is item data, and this is also gonna go in here, and everything is gonna be more organized. It's gonna be very well presented too. If you're working with a bunch of people, it's gonna be easier to keep track of everything. So right now, sorry about that. We're gonna create a new children. Let's go here. Let's go into blueprints. We right click on the parent again. If you don't want to do it this way, you can always right click on the content browser. You can say blueprint class. You can then go here into all classes, and then you can say parent, and you can look for the parent item. That's another way that you can do this. And if you click on it, it's going to create a new children, which we're going to be calling BP. Truly sorry about the coughing. Okay, so now this right now text is going to be empty. The reason for that is, let's go ahead and put this in the world. Text is just going to be showing text, and the reason for that is because we haven't assigned the row handle. So whenever you create a new children, if you're using this approach, the only thing that you need to do is open the blueprint. You're going to click on self, and then same thing. You go in here, where is it? There's two item data. I have to take a look at that, but for right now we're just going to set this to item 1. Click on save, and let's take a look. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, never mind. It's just Okay, it's just storing things since we put everything in here. That's the reason why um, it's just showing everything on the graph that way. But it's not gonna break or change anything. So right now we have assigned um, the let me see this one. Yep. So we have assigned the row handle to be item number one. So now it should display the right text, and it is. And now let's just go ahead and create one more children. Again, you can just right click on the parent, create child class, BP, and this is banana. And banana, we're gonna open it up, we're gonna click on this, we're just gonna go into the row handle, and we're gonna say that this is item number two. And now if I were to put a banana in the world, it's showing text, but as on the begin play, it's just going to be showing the right thing. And this is how you have a data-driven approach for managing your items and stuff like this in a way that it's using an object-oriented programming approach. So as you can see, the only thing that we had to do originally was set up the parent item. So it doesn't really look like anything out of the ordinary because, well, it's just very simplistic. Most likely, if you're developing a game, you're going to have more things. So creating a parent is the better way to go about doing this. And as you can see, we're just creating the children. We assigned the row handle, and everything else happens automatically. So imagine that your item data table has, I don't know, I mean your structure, let's say that you have over 15 things in here. You're just passing that information to the parent, and then the parent is just responsible of sending that over to each corresponding children, because each children is just going to have data that pertains to it. And if you have any like doubts on this is something that you can actually test yourself. If I go into the Apple, for example, and I click on the event graph, and I say, okay, on event begin play, I'm going to get the item data, and I'm going to break that. I hate when Unreal is doing this. Okay, there we go. And I print something, for instance. I'm gonna print directly its name. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and do so. Event being placed, and the only thing that is being rendered into the screen it's the apple, because the item data that this children is uh, inheriting is just only what pertains to it. And that's basically how it works in a parent-child relationship. So you can go wild in here. You can have as many variables and information you want. That's going to be up to you and the design that you're going for. So right now we don't really have an inventory. I don't really want to expand on this video too much because the idea was to talk about children and how these classes work and whatnot. So we can just say, like, if for example, let's go into the parent class right now. As we are overlapping, we are making sure that we are overlapping the player, the third person character, and nothing else. And then once once we have confirmed that this is the third person character, then we can say something like, maybe get the player controller, and I'm going to enable input. Enable. This is a weird glitch with Unreal Engine 5 that you have to do this like a couple of times for it to work properly. I don't know why that is, but so we're gonna enable input on the player controller. We have to change the target. So this is very important. Target is gonna be the item, and the player controller goes here. Same thing applies for on event and overlap. In this case, we're just going to disable the input, and we're going to put this here. All right, so now once we overlap the component or the trigger box, and we have checked for to make sure that this is the third person character, we can allow an input to take place. Now, Unreal Engine is using what is called the enhanced input mapping. We're not going to go into that in this video. It's something that I will basically I will be expanding on a different video. So for now and for testing purposes, I'm just going to say E key. Let's just look for E. Okay, so E, when we press E, we want something to happen. I'm just going to say destroy actor, maybe, just for simplicity's sake. So we're just going to be destroying the current instance of this actor. And as you can see now, if I step on the banana, I can just destroy the banana and nothing else is being affected, because this is sending a signal to the children. It's we're doing this on the parent, but this functionality, it's being inherited by all the children. Same thing for the apple. I can just destroy the apple, and same thing for the pear or the pear. And I'm truly sorry that through the entire video I have been pronouncing this horribly, but well, it is what it is. And that is basically it. That is basically how we have a parent-children relationship. There's an infinity of things that you can actually do with this sort of approach, but this makes development way easier. Now, I'm pretty sure that you're like, you might be thinking, okay, but what if I, at some point, get my matches, like maybe a banana, maybe an apple. Not gonna even gonna pronounce the other one. Well, everything is flexible. You can definitely get away with setting everything in a way that you want. And just to give you a basic idea, because again, I don't want to really deviate too much of what I'm trying to accomplish here, but this does fall into the category of what a child parent relationship is. So might as well, right? So let's say that you have your meshes. Something that you can definitely do is you can always create a variable here. You can set like item mesh, and you can say that this is a static mesh. And now as you can see, you can assign whatever you want your mesh to be on each. Again, this is a data-driven approach, right? So you would need to set that up in here. And basically what's going to happen is on event begin play, we're going to grab this mesh, we're going to set static mesh, and basically what you need to do is you get the item data. We're going to break this again. You set up a new getter, and then you connect this to here. You connect this to here, and that should assign the static mesh. And I'm pretty sure we can even test this out. I mean, I can just go ahead and remove the cube from the parent, and now if I play, we just see the letters, nothing is showing. And if I go here and I say, let's see, cube, I want this guy to be a cube. Actually, that was item number 2. Sure, why not? I thought I could just grab and drop that. Okay, that's fine, never mind. Let's just say that this is going to be a sphere. And the other one, whatever, I guess, a cone maybe? Yeah, sure, that works. So, in theory, this should work. That means that now when I play the game, each children should have a different static mesh assigned to it. Let me just go ahead and get rid of this. Yeah, there we go. Well, as you can see, placement is not really that great. So that's something that we need to, let's see, let's see if that's any better. And so that's the only downside, that as you can see, things are not being placed in the world properly, but that's always something that you can play with inside the, let me click on the boy, let's see. Okay, so the parent, let me remove this for a second. Okay, it's actually resting properly. All right, yeah, that sort of works for the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So, yeah, if at some point you have your matches, then you can just do what we just did, and that way you can assign them following this parent-children approach. One last thing that I'm gonna be talking about here. I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to delete this. I'm just gonna do this. Again, we wanna follow like a nice structure. Let's create a getter for this. So we're gonna collapse to a function, and I'm gonna call this get item mesh. We're gonna click on the function itself. We're gonna convert this to pure. And let's go ahead and remove all of this. Again, make sure to hide anything that is not connected. We don't. So when you have a structure that is exposed like this, for instance, let's say that you're showing all of this, nothing is going to happen because you're not really passing the information anywhere. But if it was the other way around, let's say that you have it like this, then this is a problem, right? Because this is sending empty information. In this case, it's not going to make any drastic changes. It's not going to affect anything. But if you have other logic and functionality that it's heavily dependent on this, that it's going to break your game. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect. Click on the return node. Let's get rid of the return parameter or the output. It's the correct name. We're going to go back into the event graph, and now we're going to test this one more time to make sure that it's working, and it is. And ultimately, or last thing we're going to do is just add this to our getters. That's it. We don't need anything else. So one more thing that I would like to touch base on. So this children-parent relationship, it's very powerful, but in Unreal Engine has a very interesting how do you call this? There's a feature that you need to be aware of for this to work. If you don't know about that feature, if you're not familiar with it, then you're going to have problems how these systems are interacting with each other. So if for whatever reason one of your blueprints loses the parent event begin play, like so, now what's going to happen is the banana and the other guy, it's going to be displaying the right information and it's going to work properly, but the apple is not. And as you can see, it's not showing any text. It's just empty. It's not assigning any mesh. The only thing that you can do with it, it's sort of interact, like press E, like I just did. Right now, let me show you again. Text is right there. If I press E, the item is destroyed. But all these things right here, this right here is not firing off, and the reason it is not firing off is because this is firing off at the parent level. So if we want that information to be passed to the children, the event begin play also needs to be connected to the parent for that to happen. So if for whatever reason you don't see your parent begin play, it's really easy to find it. You can right click on this and you're going to add a call to a parent function, and then just go ahead and and connect this like so. If I remember correctly, you can right click on the graph as well, parent begin play. I think there was an option to, okay, actually it is not. It's just right clicking on the event begin play and calling to parent function. And then you connect this back on the event begin play for the actor, and everything is working again. So, I think that pretty much covers what is a child-parent functional relationship. We didn't really do anything out of the ordinary. I'm pretty sure that you would like to see something more advanced or something more interesting, but this should give you a broad idea of how to properly use these systems and how to abuse them. Now, again, you might be wondering what is the purpose of this, and this is something that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and it's very straightforward. Any changes, let's say that I have 100 items across the world, or possible items that could show up in the world. I don't want to create um, I don't want to have to create 100 items and then assign like a function to them, and like a mesh and all this, right? I can just do this on the parent level. I create the children and that's it. And then if I need to do something very specific on the children, you can always do so. Um, this is very, it gets I'm just going like this is a very simple overview because this gets really complicated really quickly. By what I mean by this is if I were to right click on the banana, for instance, I can create a new children that is going to be a children um, uh, that the parent is going to be the banana. And you might be wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Well, if you want to expand on this system, and instead of saying like we can just say items, that works. But let's say that you want to subdivide items, and then from items you're going to create two childrens, and maybe one it's going to be like a general inventory or general items, I don't know, and then you can create a new subclass that is going to be inventory equipment items, right? And now it gets more complex because now you have like a new children's subset that are extending to different areas. That is more complicated. This is something that I definitely would like to go over. There's neat trick that you can use in Unreal Engine, which is using composite data tables, and that makes the whole thing way easier to accomplish and to handle. But I don't really want to overcomplicate this video too much. I think it's already complicated as it is. And but yeah, that's what I wanted to touch base with this first video. I really hope that you like what you see, you enjoy what you're seeing right now. If you have any comments, any improvements that I can make to my channel, please feel free to post them in the comment section, and I will definitely get back with you. Other than that, well, we'll be seeing again in another time. Okay. Well, have fun. Good night, everyone.